Sony. The company that made more than 50 million from the PS1 and PS2. What can go wrong? Well, everything. Sony made one mistake that almost lost them everything they built for the last 20 years. But first we have to know the beginning. It was March 4, 2000 when the PS2 was released. The PS2 is the best console in the world. It sold 155 million units and 1 million games. It outsold the Nintendo DS with 154 million units. These numbers didn't appear out of nowhere. They came from these three things. Number 1, games were easier to make back then. It took less money to make a game back then compared to making a game now. That's why most games now are almost the same as the last game. Call of Duty is a good example. Yes, I see you, Call of Duty. So if games are good, the console will have a better chance of succeeding. The best games on the PS2 were GTA, San Andreas, Final Fantasy X, and GTA Vice City. So if games are easier to make, more people will take a risk making those games because they will lose less money if the game fails. In the 2000s, it took between 5 and 10 million to make a game. In 2025 it takes 80 to 120 million to make a game. That is why a lot of games were sold on the PS2, because more companies decided to take a risk to make new games. The second reason the PS2 is the best console is because of the price and software. The PS2 software was good, but it was not better than the GameCube and the Xbox 360. Thanks to how cheap the PS2 was, more people bought it. Price of the PS2 was cheaper than most DVD players. Let me explain. People bought the PS2 is because you could play DVD. They were rising at the time, and VHS tapes were falling off. So a lot of people started using DVD players. They were higher quality, but DVD players were crazy expensive in the 2000s, even costing double the price of the PS2 for the cheapest one. On the PS2, Sony already added a DVD player that was half the price of the cheapest DVD player. It allowed families to play games and watch movies for less. This was one of the big reasons that the PS2 sold more consoles than the Xbox and GameCube. The third and final reason is. Before we continue, let me know down in the comments if you want me to cover Xbox, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. The PS2 was hyped because of Metal Gear Solid 2, and the PS1 sold 100 million copies, so more people are willing to buy the PS2, but I'm not going to touch on the PS1 today. Now it is time for the PS3, the worst console Sony ever made.
And the 60GB PlayStation 3 for $599 US, $659 Canadian. PlayStation 3 will be available in Europe and Australasia.
Kaz said the price, and the room we were in went silent. And I said, did he really say what I think he said? Absolutely, in my mind, and many of us said out loud, oh, this could be really fun. Okay, we got a real chance. There's real upside here.
Yeah.
The sub-processor alone costed $300. And a lot of developers couldn't develop games on the PS3 because the sub-processor was different from every processor ever made. Games on the PS3 that function perfectly on the Xbox 360 were a buggy mess on the PS3, so most developers refused to make games on the PS3. But even when all hope was lost, they supported the PS3. At the end of the PS3's life cycle, it made a massive comeback. Uncharted showed the power and capability of the PS3. God of War made the cinematic moments possible. Sony learned from the PS3 and used all the knowledge to improve to make the PS4. What can I say?